Hi, welcome to another episode of DevOps with Duo. In this series, we've been looking at how GitLab Duo fits into your DevOps or infrastructure engineer workflow. In this episode, we'll be looking at how GitLab Duo can help you to deploy your serverless functions to AWS Lambda faster and more efficiently. First, we'll be creating an API to tell us the time in major cities around the world. Then we'll create all the necessary deployment files and resources to deploy to AWS Lambda using CloudFormation. The purpose of this video is to help you understand the different functionalities of GitLab Duo, which includes capabilities like GitLab Duo chat, where you can interact with GitLab Duo, and it can help you do different things within your workflow. Then root cause analysis, which can help you diagnose issues in your CI and recommend solutions. Then we have code suggestions or code completion, where as you are writing your code in the Web IDE or Visual Studio Code, it completes your code for you. Now let's head on to the video on how you can use GitLab Duo to deploy your serverless functions to AWS Lambda faster. Okay, let's get started. I have an empty group here that I'll be using to create my project. And before I create the project, I just want to let you know that I've created the variables that I need for my credentials to communicate with AWS and other services that I'm using or for projects that I'll be creating under this group. So let's go back to our group, and I'll be starting a new project. Click on the black project, and I'll say Duo. Let me say Duo Lambda. Then I'll make sure it's an empty group with nothing in it. Now our project will create an application to tell us the time, the current time across different time zones. So for us to get started, let me open the Web IDE by pressing the full stop key on my keyboard. Then I have an empty project. We'll leave it as the main branch, and I'll open Duo chat on the left panel here. So let's prompt Duo chat to create our application for us. Okay, let's create a Lambda function that returns the current time from cities from major cities across the globe. Use Ruby 3.3, just telling it that I want it to use this language and the specific version of the language. Yeah, it will take some time to do all the processing and should give us an answer any moment now. Oh, it's working on an answer. Yeah, we have our answer. Okay, so let's review what it's generating for us. So here it's saying we should create our directory. Yep, we're going to do that. And it's saying we should create a gem file. Okay, let's create a new file. Now let's copy our gem file. You have the option to also insert the content Duo is suggesting for you here. Let's save, and we'll save our file as gem file. Enter. Now the next thing is okay, this is if we want to install it locally. Then we have Lambda function. Okay, this is a Ruby file for our Lambda function, so it's requiring JSON and also requiring TZ info. TZ info is already added in our gem file. So these are the cities and the time zone that to display the times for us. And okay, it's creating a Lambda handler that uses the TZ time zone function to get our time, and it returns a JSON here. Awesome. So let's create a new file and insert the content of what Duo is suggesting for us. Let's save it as lambda_function.rb. Let's save lambda_function.rb, and we save. Now, what's the next thing we need to do? Okay, we need to zip it, and we can deploy our function this way. Okay, but we don't want to do it manually. We want to do the deployment using GitLab CI. Okay, now let's prompt it. Let's deploy. Let's create a GitLab CI script to deploy our Lambda function using CloudFormation. Yeah, just adding CloudFormation to showcase how GitLab can help, how Duo can help with both CloudFormation and Lambda or any other AWS service that you are using. Awesome. Let's review what it's suggesting for us. So it's saying here, certainly, let's create a GitLab CI script that deploys Lambda function using CloudFormation. We'll create a CloudFormation template for the Lambda function and use GitLab CI to package and deploy it. Awesome. First, let's create a CloudFormation template. Create a file named this. Awesome. Let's create our file. I'll copy the file name so I don't have to do a lot of typing. And it's saying we okay, this is okay, so let's say this now. So we will be having in our file, let's save the file. Okay, save templates.yaml, and it says, okay, this is the description of our CloudFormation template. This is that we will be deploying a function, and this is the function name. This is the handler and everything that we need for our application. And we are going to be using it. Runtime is 3.2. I think we're using 3.3. Let's see. It should work. Then we'll have the API event and everything, and the path that we need to call is /time to run our application. Now let's scroll down, and at the end of the day, it says our the outputs that will be displayed when CloudFormation runs is this. Something is missing here. I think it wasn't copied over. So let me copy this line again. Let's paste here. Now, next thing is our GitLab CI file. Okay, it's stating this is our GitLab file. So let's create a GitLab-ci.yaml file. First, let me save, paste the file name, save, and let's copy the content and paste here. Let's review what it's suggesting to us. It's saying, okay, let's use Ruby 3.3, and we'll build our application first before we deploy. So this is our the region we'll be using. We'll leave it at that. The S3 bucket we'll be using. Let's specify this as our S3 bucket. It's the same thing as our S3 bucket. Then let's before scripts, okay, then it will build our application into a zipped file, and to pass this zip file to the deploy job for deployment, and deployment will be pushed first. The application will be pushed to S3. Then CloudFormation will deploy the project based on the app that was deployed to S3, and at the end of the day, to display an output for us for, okay, this is the link to our function. But something is weird. Our Lambda function doesn't seem to, our template here doesn't seem to reflect what the CI is doing. So let's ask GitLab Duo to refactor this template file. Refactor to use S3 bucket deployment. Okay, let's see if Duo will understand what I want and give us an answer. It should, because here we are seeing we are packaging our application, so there's no need for us. We need to make sure our template reflects what our CI will do. Awesome. It has changed now to this. So let's copy. See, previously what we have is Duo is basically shipping the whole code. Not Duo. CloudFormation is shipping the code for deployment. But here we want our CI is packaging the application into the zipped file, and the zip file is pushed to S3 bucket. So let's change our application. Let's change our CloudFormation code. So now let's review and confirm what Duo is giving us. Now it has changed to setting parameters for these variables that we use in our resource definition here. So we have S3 bucket name, S3 key. Then we have the reference here. It's referencing them here, and S3 key here. The S3 bucket is the bucket where the S3 bucket name definitely implies where our zipped file will be pushed at the end of the day. And the S3 key is the file name of the files. Then we have our output specified here. We have the path that we'll call for our endpoint. So let's review our CI again. Now, what is it doing? We are saying the build first is doing a bundle install to build our application, then zipping everything into this file function.zip. Then the deploy job makes sure that our S3 bucket is created. This is our S3 bucket. Then it copies this function that we've packaged, the app we've packaged in our zip file, to this bucket location. Now, once that is done, we are creating a package template for our CloudFormation, and also deploying our application. Now, let's ensure that what we are specifying here for our CloudFormation template matches what we are passing from CI. Here we are saying S3 buckets, S3 key. What did we specify here? Our S3 bucket name. So let's change this to reflect what we have in our CI. This helps us to avoid unnecessary errors. So let's see for function name, this describes, okay. Is there anything else that we need to do? Package your Lambda function when deploying CloudFormation stack. Provide the S3 bucket name and key. Yep. So we have our land function here. And yeah, I think, well, hopefully we have everything we need, and it should all work fine. Our credentials, like I mentioned at the beginning, are already specified in our group variables. So let's commit, our changes, we'll say initial commit. Let's just put initial commit. Missing an I here. Initial commit to main. Yeah, just for the purpose of this demo. Now let's see, our CI should start. Then we'll go to GitLab CI. Here we have two jobs. The first one, which is builds, runs bundle install, builds our application. Then the next job is use CloudFormation to deploy our job. Okay, our pipeline has failed here. So let's use root cause analysis to identify why it failed. It's trying to install AWS CLI using PIP, and yeah, it's saying externally managed environment. This environment is externally managed to install Python packages system-wide, etc. Okay, so let's review. To fix this, there are several approaches, but I think let's go back to our project here and identify, okay, we are installing AWS CLI. Let's refactor this entirely. Let's refactor it entirely to do it different. Refactor. Use AWS CLI image for deploy job. Okay, let's see. This should, so that it's only as the we should use an image for the deploy job that already contains everything we need. We don't need to do a lot of install, and installs should not be done where they are not needed. For example, in our build job, we don't need AWS. We don't. So this has been changed. So let's copy this and paste the changes. Okay, let's review. Has anything changed from what we had before? No. So let's update CI script and commit and push. Yeah, continue. Now let's go and check our CI again this time. Awesome. Our job has completed. Although the job failed a number of times due to one or two CI changes, I sped up the video and also made some changes. Some of the changes I made was the zip was when it tried to zip, it couldn't because the package was not there. So I added app update install, and while doing it, I also made some changes to make sure the deploy stage also doesn't fail. So I added the Amazon AWS CLI and also made sure it did yum update for any updates that might be necessary, and also made sure the entry point doesn't fail. So let's check our job. Everything passed, and function.zip was created. Now let's go to the deploy job to see. Oh, it also passed. Awesome. Now let's check. Interesting. Our deploy job passed successfully. Let's see. What did it do? Okay, it did yum update. Well, update wasn't necessary. I just added it. Then it created our bucket time zone API stack, and it uploaded our function to our bucket. Then it packaged the artifacts necessary for CloudFormation to function, and then it did the deployment. Now, after the deployment was done, it described our stack, and it was able to pull our API URL that we use to access our Lambda function. So let's test this out and open it in a new tab. Wow, it gave us exactly what we expected. 10, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 cities and the current time. Awesome. Now, so in your AWS console, if you go to services and you search for CloudFormation, you will see the CloudFormation stack that has been created. For example, this is our stack that was created. This is, and you can access the different resources, the functions that were created. You can check the logs and everything. I'll add links if you are not familiar with CloudFormation and Lambda functions. I'll add links in the description for this. So, Duo allows you, as an experienced developer, to work faster and more efficiently. You can create, you need a Lambda function or some configuration to be created quickly for your deployment. It can allow you to do that. If you are not experienced and you're just experimenting with Duo, with Lambda functions, Duo can also help you. See, it's not just giving you the code to use, it's giving explanations on why you should do certain things and why you should how to configure them to work for you. But I always advise for you to learn a bit about the technology that you want to use so that you can validate its AI. Sometimes, see, like the warning that we give here, it says may provide inappropriate answers not representative of GitLab. Do not input personal details. Also, you should always verify. Aside from that, you should always verify that what it's giving you is correct. So having a bit of knowledge of the technology you want to use is important, but then it makes you work faster. You won't do a lot of typing, and it can help you even with things that you might not be familiar with in the language of your choice. Awesome. That's the end of this demonstration. Now you can leverage GitLab Duo to do a lot of things, not just deploying your serverless function to Lambda, but to do almost anything on AWS with CloudFormation or any other form that you want to use with AWS. You can find links to all the different resources shared or mentioned in the video in the description. Thank you, and see you in the next episode.